hear the words self-love, what is your first emotional reaction? Go.
Me.
Oh, wow. I think that's actually true. And self-love actually could use some rebranding because not everyone who's an Aquarius embraces it like a Leo. Today on our show, we'll be talking about mysterious drones, a psychic surf report, and rebranding self-love.
I don't just talk stuff and repeat stuff. I'm living this stuff.
And you can thank me for covering your astro. Hello and welcome to Leading Out Loud, a TV podcast hosted by a psychic medium and an astrologer, bringing a spiritual view from above on modern-day topics and headlines. Today's our dynamic duo, that's ourselves here. We're going to dive into two topics. One, the mysterious drones hovering over America that American Cold War seems to know nothing about. And then, it's become a buzzword, the lightwork industry, but people continue to push away the idea of self-love. Does it need rebranding? But first, our psychic love report. Energetically right now, Scott, things are lightening up. We have had Mercury station direct, so we got kind of half of our faculties back. We had a full moon over the weekend, Sunday night, Saturday night to Sunday morning, so overnight. Wondering how that hits you. And then we go into Capricorn next week, so I'll talk about that. First and foremost, let's talk about the full moon last weekend. Did you experience anything? Because the idea was that you would probably let go of an idea we had about the future.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I've just been very tired and highly irritable. So, and almost like everything has been amplified around me. You ever have those moments so everything's amplified around you? And so, I think when we talked about before our show, it's like I just been suffering fools gladly too longer, and I think I just been, to where I think that's why I'm irritable. So, yes,
Suffering
definitely
what?
it's the term "suffer fools gladly," where you kind of just like allow people just kind of, you're taking care of people too much. You're allowing people to be more of a problem, and it's okay. And you're tending to people too much. And when you do that so much, it just amplifies the irritation. So, and I've been just noticing that I've been paying too much attention to other people's crapola. So it's definitely been showing me to like disconnect, and force me to like not work when I think I need to work and relax. So it's been more of that. And I think you also talked to me yesterday about, it affecting, libido and, and sex drive and all that stuff. So it's definitely been
Well,
more.
okay, let's dive into that. I mean, Mars is currently retrograde. It'll be retrograde until February 23rd. It's currently retrograde in Mars. It'll retrograde into Cancer, which will make us even grumpier, by the way, a little bit later. God help us, staff.
Surprise.
But Mars retrograde for men, is that your dog? Mars retrograde for men is the big deal because men tend to, we underestimate how much energy we get from the universe. We do. We don't realize it until it goes away. And Mars is testosterone. It is the root chakra.
Yep.
It is sperm count I was joking about yesterday, And when Mars is retrograde, men have to rely only on their local male energy, right? They're not really feeling off the sun, like picking up on the energy. And I think we have no idea. Now, men, if you're out there watching, both of you, it might be hard right now because ultimately what we're being pushed to do is find new ways to do it, new pathways to satisfy ourselves, and in many cases, in the big picture of things, where you end up going in life. Because what drives you in that moment drives the overall arc of the life. So in essence, we're being invited to change what we put energy into. And actually, what we're being asked to change is self-love. So I don't want to dive too much into that topic, but I think it's important as it relates to Mars. That's the tired, I think.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like redirecting, okay, what is this sex drive for? Is it just for, the sake of expressing and letting go, or is it actually connecting with love, right? And so, an intimacy aspect when it comes to, the sexual expression. So, with my partner, we kind of talked about it yesterday. We kind of both felt with this like indifference energy of like, wanting to like express it, but at the same time, it's like, where's it coming from? And is this more emotional? So there's definitely was a I would say analyzation of that, when it comes to this
interesting.
expression.
Thanks for sharing, Team I. No, Mars, yeah.
So transparent.
Can we now talk about your sleep-in life? No, I'm kidding. I think that's true. I think it's great that you're talking about it. Gay man is interesting too because, you're getting a pure male point of view there. That's interesting as well.
Exactly.
I
See?
just want to speak to the women. Mostly our viewers are women, and what it does,
True.
Mars does for them too. We don't realize it. I mean, men have feminine energy, women have masculine energy, and so
Yeah.
they too will feel kind of deflated. But what I'll find is, women, on the other hand, they don't take it as strong or not strong per se, but I notice that they have to face fears more. So it's like, I don't know if I can get out there and do it. I don't know if they'll accept me. It's almost like in a woman that with Mars direct, a lot of times the male energy I think is holding back fear, holding back things that there's worry about. It's not so much about their drive, but it's
Yeah.
basically about what allows them to drive.
Sure. I've seen with a lot of my female clients them kind of being more on the kind of like just wanted to be sexual. You know what I mean? Kind of just like, I just want to have sex. I don't really need the romance. So I've seen a lot of that with my clients, I would say lately,
Oh,
kind of just
interesting.
hanging out.
Since Mars retrograde,
Yeah. Yeah. A lot
that's
of
interesting. I
the,
wonder if
I,
they
I've
have,
been talking to a lot of my female clients about like them wanting to having a better sex life. And so, yeah, it's been more so the past month, though, I would say. So not
that's
just,
interesting.
yeah.
So I would
Yeah.
think in those charts, I'd want to see those charts, but I wonder if there's a repressed Mars, Mars in the 12th, Mars
Right.
retrograde, which
Yeah.
means in a retrograde, they're actually more energized, the opposite.
Right.
So I think in the big picture of things, I mean, I've done this. We'll talk about today in Serious Story. We have our mega monthlies. We talk about what this is in all 12 signs, but it's you being re-guided to your new purpose. That's really what is underneath all the seams here. Because at the end of the day, there's two things that tend to drive us. Self-love, which we're going to talk about, and also our ego. Your ego drives you. It's necessary. Religions who go, you don't need an ego. I'm like, bullshit. You're not going to get off the couch without an ego.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To do something. So when Mars retrogrades, it's like, what should I chase after? Because Mars is what you chase after. Now, Mars is actually in the early degrees of Leo, which means right now the question is, what joy? I mean, it depends on where you are consciously. If you're dead asleep, you're going, what's going to be fun? Where's my joy? Where do I get it from next? If you're more enlightened, you're going to say, my heart is not happy with this path. I think there's a new path. I'm not making myself happy on the inside, which I think is your crankiness. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But anyways, it makes for opening up. I think if you have the energy to do it, do it. If you don't have the energy to do it, don't do it. Because you're being led to do something different.
Yeah, I would say be open, being open to it, because I think yesterday I had a huge kind of like release, I would say emotionally. So I guess we're talking about me. So
Crying?
what's that? You're not,
Come on,
not
tell us, guy, did you cry?
No, I shed a little bit of a tear. I was crying for you. I gotta be on LOL with him tomorrow. No, I'm kidding. But I was actually I actually felt more in tune with my emotions. It's like it felt like, and I guess it's a personal expression today. I don't know,
I
but
guess that's therapy apparently at everyone's cost. Go on.
Exactly. Paying for free. You guys are paying for my therapy. But no, I feel like, I've been noticing that even with my partner, like kind of just really being like the honesty of feelings and looking at it more transparently, right? And more objectively, I felt too. And I've noticed that with my other relationships too, on their end, and being more transparent and objective with how they feel and more forthright about it. So I think that's kind of maybe, with my own personal experience and what I've been observing, I think people are becoming more, I would say, embracive, and not abrasive, but embracing their emotions. And
people are men, because when you talk about that, two gay men who are expressing their emotions more, feeling more sensitively, don't want to have sex. What planet am I on? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Yeah, but I also talk about like friendships too. I've been noticing like people just being very forthright. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like not fearing, the emotion, but putting it into proper perspective. I've been seeing that a lot of that greatness of that.
And what I'm suggesting is your normal ego is in the way of that. And Mars retrograde is showing you that your own ego and your macho Puerto Rico is actually maybe blocking some of this. That's the point of a Mars retrograde. It's like, hey, when we remove the ego, look what happens to your life. And you really get an idea of like, oh my goodness. Now, ego again is not bad. In fact, ego is necessary. It's step 9 in manifestation. You have to act. You have to do something. You can't just law of attraction with a vision board. You got to do something. So Mars is an important step. The question is, where should I step? How far? How much do I go? And it's Leo, so it's self-love.
Yeah.
Okay. His ego's getting quiet. Am I doming you with the Mars retrograde? That's amazing. But also,
no, not at all. I mean, I think that, for me, ego is like I agree with you before. I always say like we should never kill the ego. We got to nurture our ego. Like, I mean, the ego has its place, and that's our survival mechanism too. So if we're always in survival mode, right, then of course we're going to be missing out on the huge essences and the spiritual, nature and flow of life. So yeah, I think it's a wonderful time, for me. and others as well. When I see with my clients too, of them kind of really understanding that dichotomy, you know what I mean? And so yeah, and there's a little, especially with my clients too, a lot of people are starting to recognize too, like, they maybe been too much in ego and letting go of that overly thought process of structure just to survive, right? And to not get hurt. That I've been seeing a lot of great breakthroughs. I've had a lot of great breakthroughs with my clients during this time with their relationships and moving forward,
Yes.
and
Oh
that's what I was
yeah.
saying before, Christopher. Like, I'm feeling that with my relationship, like great breakthroughs, where
That
it's
makes
like
total. Yeah.
coming full circle. You know what I mean? Energy. So
Yes. Well, there's a lot to unpack there, but I feel you're exactly what consciousness of astrology is pushing us towards.
yeah,
We're ending an era, and when you talk about fight or flight, you've got to hit dead on there. In fact, I even think that's the media's agenda is keep us in fight or flight, because when you're in
right,
fight or flight, your ego is inflamed, you're defensive, you're coming from lack energy, you're coming from fear. It just
totally,
positions your ego to be ready to fight or run,
right,
right?
right,
And it's
right,
hard. I mean, the foods we eat put us in fight or flight. Our body's inflamed. Like there's so many different ways that we're triggered, including chemicals in the air from airplanes, that we have just stayed in this fight or flight. The Mars retrograde takes off the ego, and so you suddenly realize this position your ego has had. And I
right.
love that and for you to some degree, maybe blocking intimacy, blocking authenticity, and we'll talk about that in self-love again. We'll bring it up. So other things, the sun is moving in at Capricorn over the weekend. It's winter solstice on Saturday this year. It's on the 21st Saturday. And this is the time of year, first of all, where, the days start getting longer here in the Northern Hemisphere and shorter in the Southern. But this is also a time where we make decisions. Capricorn is all of our inner discipline because you've made this decision to yourself, this commitment to yourself. And from there, you build on another decision and another decision. And that's really what is our conscious structure, our operating systems. Here's what's interesting. This year is the first year in 15 years where Pluto is not in Capricorn. Finally, it's completed it. So that means that this Capricorn is going to be a conclusionary, a big like a 15-year conclusionary about what you control, what you decide, where you want to go next. Again, interesting that Mars is retrograde in drug during this time, because now as we make these profound decisions after a 15-year Pluto transit, now you suddenly have so much more wisdom. Oh, have you picked up with your clients a needing to make a change?
Well, always.
Well,
That's
I
all
guess
the
that's the
time.
nature of every
But
reading, right?
but
Right.
but yeah,
I just mean more
to
than that's,
me,
I guess, more than normal. Yeah.
yeah, but I would say the difference is like they're conscious of it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Instead of feeling like something's different, like I don't like now if they're like, I need to do this, like I need to I need to be more open, or I need to be more creative, or I need to be more, self-loving, right? So I've been finding them being more conscious of what it is, right? Instead of feeling like, oh, I need to change. So yeah, I've seen some great realizations, and I think that's why I've been seeing a lot of my clients' relationships like starting to come together, or new relationships starting for them, is because they realize I know what I need. They're more conscious of what it is.
that's really interesting on so many levels. I mean, one thing I'm seeing as well with my clients, people I coach, and also just comments and reactions from the YouTube crowd, for instance,
Right.
is that people really have faced their shadow. A lot of people face their shadow. That's Saturn
Yeah.
in Pisces. I feel now it's
Right.
direct again. And so we have eliminated if it's me or you. We have eliminated that I'm a dumbass. We eliminated all these shadow things that we're afraid to approach. And
Right.
now that we have filled it with light and it's no biggie, we're wondering now what we do, because a lot of our ego, like that fight or flight, was all based on covering for those issues, avoiding those
Right.
issues,
Fear.
fighting to someone else about those issues. And now
Right.
suddenly our ego is like, now what do I do?
Right. Well, I think a lot of people realizing too that it's not as scary as they thought, kind of
Yeah.
bypassing ego. They realize, oh, isn't so scary. I'm not dying here. So yeah, maybe I could embrace what I know that I need. And so I find be more open to that, because they realize it wasn't so detriment of them shifting out of ego, because the ego could be a crutch. It's a comfort zone for a lot of people.
Everyone.
And when they pull that crutch out, it's like, there's that fear. And so, yeah, I would say I've seen a lot of positive, and of course there's people who struggle with that still. I mean, there's always people that's gonna be lagging behind, but at least I'm seeing them on that pathway of it clicking. You know what I mean? And so, yeah.
I'm seeing that too. It's remarkable. I mean, it's remarkable. And I'm like, thank God my predictions were correct. Because that was a big prediction. Like, well, it was a big prediction even like a year ago. I remember in my countdown 2024 talking about you're going to come out of this year with your shadow, clear.
Right.
I was like, God damn, that's a hell of a, like, that's those predictions where she's like, "Ooh," you're sweating at the commercial. But now that we're here, yes, even myself, that's what's really cool too. Is just like I was in denial with myself. I keep myself too busy. I didn't look at a certain shadow. I don't. What shadow? I'm fine. Nothing's bugging me. Kind of thing. Which is all ego stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a net
Well,
9, so I'm all ego actually. So I've been looking at it for a long time. I actually think
That's
it's
why I
part
like
of the
calling
thing.
mine out, huh?
What's that?
So that's why I like calling out mine.
No, I mean that's actually a philosopher going, you have this problem too. Let's not tell the public I have it too. That's what that is. Of course I have it. I have all of it. I don't know. Now we're going down a rabbit hole, but I myself feel like a lot of the reason why sometimes I go through things is so I can understand humanity. Because
100%. And I've said that when I was a kid. Like sometimes if I could just go through stuff so I can write about it or talk about it or know about it, I feel the same thing too. And to go kind of what you're saying before, like I was psychically like saying that 2024 is like the year of movement in the sense of we're kind of rearranging shit to like bring out the past karma. Like I said, always use the terminology like when you move that old fridge in the old home, the cockroaches start scurrying, you start realizing what's behind that shit. And I think we've been doing that subconsciously and, moving around things in our life that just don't need to be there. In 2025, self-love, self-care is like all that tangible movement now. We start expressing that. And like you said, Christopher, before, a lot of people come to terms with that shadow version, and so I think that 2025 is gonna be a huge tangible manifestation year for a lot of people.
it's off the hook. And I'll just do a shameless plug. I have a Countdown 2025 webinar. It's on January 11th. For 2 hours, I just go through everything going on next year. But I'll give you some tidbits right now. Some huge, huge changes. One, Trump's in office.
Yeah.
So for our country, we're officially at war. In fact, the last time, actually what's interesting is the last time Saturn and Neptune were in Aries, it was the American Civil War.
Right.
So I'm just compelled, that the one president that half the country hates is now in charge. It's very Lincoln-esque.
Right.
Maybe,
right.
Who was also Lincoln was a Republican Party, by the way. Interesting.
Right.
But so you can see how the Republican Party's changed. But next year it's going to be intense and off the hook because basically going back to our ego issue, and this is actually the great setup for self-love because ego is half the time most of the problem. Blocking self-love too, is that we are going to take this new crafting of our ego in Mars retrograde. February 23rd, the new ego is launched, which means you've told your ego, okay, don't focus on this, focus on that. I look at egos like a little dog. No, don't shit in the corner. Come over here. So we go forward with our new ego. And then it is just in the next 2 months, by June, Saturn and Neptune are in Aries. And that means that two of the major forces of inspiration, Neptune, the godly inspiration, Saturn, what you end up deciding, Saturn, the source of Satan, go too far decisions, you can really hurt yourself. They're in Aries. That means in a way, everybody has to suddenly use this new ego immediately and be pressured to use that ego for a while.
Right. I agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah. But I mean, that's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people too, because that requires a lot of creative juices, because then we're saying like, where am I creating the new version of self to be? Right. Because that requires, introspection, and there could be a lot of, also the new ego could be very, I would say, opposing, and kind of in a sense of direction. So we have to be very in tune. And that's why self-love is a very important topic now, because we need to learn to really feel and know ourselves to understand what's that new version that we're creating. So that could be more of a seamless expansion, not so much a confusing one, because sometimes the current will take people, as you know, and they fight it, but they just dragging themselves through the mud because they're not conscious of that new shift or new change that's happening, the new version we're giving birth to. So I think self-love is important.
Let's dive into that self-love, because you brought it all up there. Really, it has to have a self-love conversation. I believe everything you're saying.
100%. Yeah.
But first, let's talk about our sponsor. You are a big fan yourself. I'm talking about Crystal by Crystal. She's a candle craftswoman that makes these herself, puts Reiki energy into them. No kidding. And I think this is a new trend going on, Scott, where literally spiritual light workers who make products are praying into their products deliberately, just like just kind of like how we bless our food. We're seeing products and services, and Crystal by Crystal is one of them, where she's actually sending Reiki energy into the candles with intention. There's also crystals embedded in the candles, and of course, you can burn the candle and not get cancer.
Yeah.
Which is great. What a great feature. Can you believe in this age where we have to actually make that an advertisement, and it won't give you cancer? Like that's where we are, folks. Dear Lord. But she's got a great commercial. Let's roll tape and let you see for yourself.
Hi, this is Scott Cruz, Psychic Media. I'm here to introduce you to Sichi Hair and Skincare, which only uses raw and organic.
I created Crystal by Crystal because I struggled to hear my inner guidance. Sitting still was never easy for me, but lighting a candle changed everything. Now I combine the energy of fire, crystals, and Reiki to create candles that are more than decor. They are sacred tools for self-care and empowerment. These candles have transformed both my life and my customers' lives, and to deepen your journey, I offer private Reiki sessions. Save with code JOY20 at crystalbycrystal.com. Your transformation.
Ooh, we're having some tech issues. I just want to say to Crystal, I didn't do it. It was Adam. We're sorry about that false roll. We're actually moving to a new studio base because a web-based studio is great, but it's a little sluggish. So anyways, Crystal by Crystal, she's given a special code there, Joy20. Do it, put it in, show her how much we love her, and you will not be disappointed. I have to tell you that right now. And Scott can say as well. He's used them all.
They smell great, and they have stones in them too, and wonderful smells. So I definitely enjoyed it, and you can feel, like I said the last time, you can feel when you light it. It's just kind of like, because I kept it in my bedroom and I lit it, and it just brought this more of a serene environment. And usually I'm not too big on those things, but I'm like, well, it's proven to me that does work with that intention and lighting that candle. So yeah, it definitely does enhance the atmosphere for sure in a positive way.
I think we're seeing a longer trend here. Scott is talking about his emotions. He likes serene environments and candlelight. Soon you'll be taking long walks at the beach.
You give us aquas too much shit. We're very emotional. We just choose when to show it.
I've been knowing that the whole time. I'm just having a great time finally saying, Taurus. I knew it.
Okay, Taurus.
Fuck with me. But, anytime you want. This is a roast fest, you and I. That's a part of the fun. But back to
we always do it.
Yeah, back to Crystal by Crystal. Take advantage. We'll bring her up again later in the show. So our topics today. First, I don't want to go more than 5 minutes on this. Drones. What the F are the drones? I just want to set it out. Come on. There's no way our American military doesn't know what things are over our skies. Or are you shitting me? We're this stupid? We're this open to attack? We really don't know over New Jersey what's going on?
Jersey and Staten Island keeps coming up in the news too. That's my hometown, Staten Island. So that keeps coming up, randomly.
I'm wondering if you get a psychic impression on this. There's a lot of rumors going on the web, and that's why I want to bring it up, because I'm just curious what the guides have to say. I also too am psychic. I'll tap into my sources. But first, you, Scott, what is this?
First of all, it's a psyop. So I like that they're throwing out UFO. They're throwing out this inconspicuous energy and alluding to aliens and all that so forth. But I always say, what are they preparing us for? What are they distracting us from? I honestly feel like they're looking for something. And I do feel a connection with, for some reason, Elon to it too. For some reason, I don't know why. And I think they could be looking for something. Maybe they're looking for some sort of nuclear weapon or something. I feel like they're looking for something. That's a rumor. And
dive deeper on Elon. Dive deeper on Elon.
Well, just like
he's an opportunist. He's thinking himself, well, there's a huge drone market in the future, and I'm going to capitalize it.
Huge opportunist, but huge, and connecting with the tech of all those things too, because he's trying to go to Mars and all that stuff. So I do think there's affiliation there. I mean, he's been very much heavy into the political sphere lately. So absolutely. So I do feel it's a distraction though. For us as well, and I'm more concerned about what are they preparing us for. But so I really think it's a nothing burger when it comes to UFO and aliens. I think it has nothing to do with that. It's just a cover up. But I think they're looking for something. I think it'll be successful in that.
You think or feel? I want you to tell me feel.
Yeah, and I'm saying I feel like they'll be successful in that for sure. As far as what they're finding, they're looking for, and I think it just kind of will this topic would just kind of fade away in the distance. I feel like or I see,
Yeah.
But I mean.
Fade away completely? It's never going to be circle back? There's never going to be an aha moment?
I'm sorry. Said again, I had to hush the dogs for a minute.
Yeah. The dog needs more self-love. So you don't feel like this will come back, or we'll be like, I knew it, or have any sort of answer, just be like the weather balloons floating over the United States?
Right. It's one of those things, right? But I also feel like, too, because I predicted that they were going to prove alien existence, back in 2016. I said, around 2020, 2022, they'll confirm alien existence. And then after that, they'll blame the aliens for things. So I feel like in the future, they'll just say, oh, we proved that aliens exist, and there was UFOs, and we didn't know what it was. And whatever happens in the future, they will blame alien life for that instead of the government taking responsibility. So I think that's where it kind of comes in the future, but this specific thing will just fade away. And usually psyops just fade away. They come on in, create hysteria, and then they just kind of direct it to something else. So to me, it just feels like a nothing burger. And the more people keep talking about this and the hysteria, I roll. But I'm more concerned about why are they looking for this, whatever they're looking for, whether it's a nuclear whatever weapon. That's more my concern, and I think that we need to be prepared for in the future, to be more, I would say, conscious about, more intuitive and discerning about.
There's a nuclear weapons story going around. I won't talk about it first. I'll give what I
Is it
feel.
really? Because I haven't been
Yeah,
following
yeah.
the news so much
You
on
sound
it.
like you
So
must be psychic or something, Scott.
you
Jeez.
think, right?
I don't
But
know.
if it's going around, I feel that's true. If
It's
that's
one
going
theory
around,
that's like a popular theory. That there,
interesting.
the theory is that there is a nuke stolen from Russia. Like it's a very James Bond story where a nuke was stolen from Russia. We're looking for the nuke. We think it's here. I honestly feel it's all psyop. Even people like that putting out that story. Here's what I do feel. I feel this is alien technology that we recreated. I feel this is our own dark military. I feel our dark military is planning for something in Jersey. So
yes.
get the hell out! No, just kidding. But I feel like it's I feel like we're being mapped. We're being observed by us.
Oh, totally.
In some regard, for some purpose. And I feel too, in a weird way, it's like you got to be fucking kidding me. You don't know the U.S. military? Does that send a message that we're weak?
Dude,
I feel it's all.
NASA.
I think it's all set up for some. And here's the big. I'll just drop it, and we won't go too deep. I feel like talking to the Palladians through Wendy Kennedy. I talked to them. They said your government's been given a final deadline. I'm not kidding. You've given a final deadline. They have to disclose, or we're going to force it upon them. That's what they said.
Yeah.
And when they say
100%.
we, they're talking about the Galactic Council. I don't know. I can't keep those governments straight. So I feel this is actually our dark ops actually stealing that thunder and trying to be the quote aliens that come. I feel like they're going to steal the show and say, "Hey, we're the aliens," and not.
That's exactly right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
they
it feels
blame
like.
the aliens for things that don't go well. But look, how long we've been funding NASA for? How long? They don't know what's in the skies. They haven't been able to catch what's coming in the skies. They just don't know. Like it's just what are we funding NASA for?
That's a whole show. We should do a show on this because we can go forever on this. And ironically, this is a self-love show. So, so we really aren't going to be talking about. It's not very loving of myself to talk about these things.
Well, it's a separate point, right? But I think it goes into self-love, Christopher, because we need to be discerning. Like people need to when you are practicing more of that self-love and you don't want to be misled by information, your discernment will be more keen and clear. So we got to use discernment and things like this. A lot of people are feeling that, of course, that there's something not correct here. So I think they are looking for something too. But I also agree with you too. It's an excuse. It's like I said before to utilize aliens as an excuse. They do have technology that they're withholding from us. And I am very suspicious about Jersey and Staten Island. Both places I lived in, by the way. I was born in Staten Island and I lived in Jersey. I'm like, why are these? Staten Island was never in the news. It was in the news like 3 times now for two different instances.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I feel like they're mapping, not looking. I feel like they're planning for something. I also feel like we have a weird agenda. The burning in Hawaii, suspect. Right. The hurricane moving towards one of the richest deposits of heavy metals or whatever we need for cars. Happening recently. I really do feel. I mean, and the reason why we'll have to do another episode about Atlantis.
We will.
This is the shit Atlantis went down for. This kind of shit where they turned their high tech against their people, where they started just annihilating their opponents on the planet. When they had too much power, crystal power back then, it sank the literal continent. Okay, so I feel that we're in a moment now where the same players are here. And what's weird is usually when you have the same players of a karmic event, you have each one playing the other side the next time. That's the karmic completion. But we were interrupted by the sinking of Atlantis. We didn't finish the first story. So I feel like those who are dark are back dark, and those who are light are back light. And we're sort of back at Super Bowl 2026. And the big question is, will we destroy ourselves? I think the deepest fear that we're going to destroy ourselves, nuclear war, the 80s, all that, is Atlantis memory. So I feel like it's at Atlantis was galactic. They were talking aliens or spaceports. I mean, so anyways, we can go down rabbit holes. Self-love. Let's talk self-love. Like first, your simple definition of what self-love is. What is it to you?
Oh my gosh. True acceptance, complete acceptance. That means, when I say acceptance, it means you're accepting where you've been, what you're doing, and where you're going, and you're accepting the flaws too. And I'm not talking about embracing bad habits. I'm saying you're accepting where you're at and saying I can build from here. We had a discussion before this too about our differences, and I feel like the ultimate opposition to self-love is self-judgment. Plain and simple. You're judging yourself for what you did. You're judging yourself for what you can't do. And so all that self-judgment is the main inhibitor of self-love. And so when you have complete acceptance of your being in totality in your journey, and you're allowing yourself to grow from that, and you understand the meaning and value behind all that, that to me is what self-love is in a nutshell.
I agree with all that, really. I feel like, and as a teacher in astrology, where I'm trying to get to the actual essence of a vibration, like how it's not being expressed, but it's pure form.
Right.
First of all, I feel self-love. It's interesting. Now, as far as I'm concerned, you guys who's chatting, I feel like I was the first guy talking about self-love. I'm not kidding. I'm going to take credit for that. You go on YouTube in that year, go on anywhere in that year that I started. And it's not that I'm brilliant. My guides were telling me, I didn't understand what I was preaching at the time. Okay. But I knew it's self-love. Now, I believe we're in an ascension period, and I believe what's going to make you ascend is self-love. It's almost like pumping up with, unicorn glitter, your soul. It's ultimately how we get better. I mean, if you think about it, how are we going to ascend? How are we suddenly going to have Christ consciousness and turn into a ball of light and start going between dimensions? To me, you have to amp yourself up with something, and it's probably love, right? What people didn't realize is that you can do it yourself. You can adjust it yourself. So to me, self-love, honestly, is the way we respond to ourselves. On the inside, and we'll talk about this, but what matters most is on the inside, not the outside.
Right.
Like when you are sitting there, or even today, before we were running, you're like, I'm cranky. It's like, okay, that's where you are. Self-love will be, well, how you respond to you feeling that way. And to me, that's the essence of it. But a lot of people think, self-love is a Manny and a Petty. It's like, I'm going to go love myself.
And I'm just a huge voice of that. That doesn't mean you have to look at yourself in the mirror saying, I love the way you look. It's like, no, it's not about that. It's about understanding why you're at where you're at. Like if you're like 60 pounds overweight, well, you don't see your behavior, accept the behavior you did, be conscious, say, well, I have the ability to change it, and expressing it. That's another thing too, Christopher, is self-expression. Too many people are not expressing themselves, and that's also a repression of self-love. Like the whole point here is that we're supposed to express. The soul needs to express, and you might not be doing those things of negative behaviors towards self, but you might be holding yourself back. You're not expressing yourself. That is a huge, deterrent to self-love.
I think it depends on the karma, frankly. I mean, if you want to roll all the way back to Atlantis, everyone loved themselves. Everyone loved themselves in Atlantis. It wasn't even a question. It's kind of like, and they were so free and so innocent, they would cross lines and do weird shit because they just felt so confident, connected to God. We were completely connected to God all the time. And the connection was, we were raised in Atlantis to say, I'm amazing. I know I'm amazing. I'm one of God. You're one of God. We all knew it. That's why, when the dark forces went in that continent, no one saw it. No one saw the dark forces come in because no one had any shadow.
Right. You got to
themselves.
And we got to know if you don't know your power, how the hell you expect to utilize it? So first you got to understand what your power is. You have the power. So what is it? And how to express that power? Because too many people don't know how to use their power. They don't own it. And so, and
they're
obviously
stealing it from outside. I mean, most people are playing the game of power and chess on the outside of them.
True.
And you have to have a fundamental focus. Like you either believe this is a reality that you're manifesting right now, or you're some, passenger on a ride. Which is it?
Well, if we can give power to other shit, we would have to have power to give it to something else, right? So many people are giving the power to other relationships, other people. It's like, well, then you have the power to give to it. So why are you utilizing it in a way that's not serving of you? Because so many people don't believe, Christopher, as you know, they don't believe they have any power. And it's like, well, you do. You're influencing everyone around you, so there's power there. So it is expressing it and knowing that power.
I would call that influence in that case.
True.
I don't know. Let's. I think power comes from God out. That's real power. I think in the Dark Ages, since we fell in Atlantis, after we fell in Atlantis, we went into the Dark Ages. We forgot about all those powers we had. We sort of had to gain power in our environment. So we gained power with weapons, and we gained power with all sorts of brutality. And so the Dark Ages was us getting all of our power from outer accomplishment or outer, conquer. And I think we're still stuck in that mode. That's the fight or flight ego mode we were talking about in the first. That your ego's scared and it's going to conquer outside yourself to get that power. I think the nature of the age of Aquarius and you, sir, and people like us is that we realize the power's on the inside. If we're the creators of our reality, the power's on the inside. The fact that you're even here bitching is my failure as a wizard. I failed. If you're here bitching, I've already failed. I've screwed up the matrix, right? I screwed up my matrix. Okay, self-love to me is the key. The power you are seeking, friends, is self-love. Now, what does that mean? It means in the smallest moments, like where you're alone and someone, and for instance, everyone has this. People go, I love your hair, Scott. And Scott's like, what do you mean? See, that moment of what do you mean is the inner child not feeling loved right there in that moment. What do you mean? And going to the outer world to get that satisfaction. To me, self-love is in that moment, Scott or myself or whoever goes, I love you, baby. You're amazing. You just have to give that love back to yourself, literally.
Well, Right, a lot of people can't even take a compliment though. There's times I've had issues with this too. People complimenting me like, "Okay, what's up their sleeve?" or they don't really mean that, and that kind of like degrades the fact of the value that really is there, because sometimes we think that people have an agenda, and some people do, but then we let that deflect our self-love, and where we can start being allowing ourselves to be appreciated because of trauma, right? Because of past karma. And so as I've been taken advantage of through my trauma, through my years, that's sometimes like they're complimenting, but why? What are they wanting from this, right? And so I had to work through that too, and I'm still working on accepting those compliments that are genuine and pure, and remind myself, you have this power, like you are good at this, and we have to do that as well, because sometimes we deprive ourselves of self-love.
No,
because
that's it. Yeah, right there. You deprive
because of past experiences. And so I remember when I started doing like sessions professionally 12 years ago, I remember I used to tell people, the most powerful thing you could say for self-love is fuck off, because we can get to a point where we can be very loving to people and tell people to go away, or I need my space. But sometimes like you have to summon that strength. You have to just tell people to fuck off sometimes and preserve your boundaries, to preserve yourself. And in time, we build better finesse on how to deal with that, right? Once you understand we've set those boundaries, and then we can be more understanding, more compassionate how to deal with those. But sometimes the first step to self-love is saying fuck off for a moment.
That's an Aquarius Puerto Rican there. I don't know. I think if you say fuck off, you're still getting love. You're still seeing the outside world as some sort of source of love, and you're still playing the politics of that. If you have to tell someone to fuck off, you already messed up in your self-love. Already, that's why you attracted them.
100%.
They're attracted to the lack of your self-love, I think.
Right. But that's
so they're like
zombies
are like, I can feel someone who doesn't love himself, and they'll just zombie out, and they'll end up insulting you.
Right, but to me, it's like saying the boundary, saying I am disconnecting from the external world. I'm disconnecting from the external channel to look within.
Okay, so when you say people can't accept self-love, okay, and I don't know, you're a person who won't accept a compliment. I know that. I'm trying to get them in all the time. I'm also insulting you the other half of the time, so I'm keeping you confused. But I think
so true.
It is true. But
you're amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the schizophrenia right there. You just keep them not knowing. That was my childhood. It was like, you're such a good boy. You motherfucker, your underwear's on the floor. It's like as a kid, it was black, white, black, white. Love, not love. It's hard. Cold, door open, door closed. But here's what I feel, and this is in my study with clients. Most people who are light workers cannot accept love, period. And that's because you can't accept love from yourself either. And that's because you are judging yourself as not worthy to have that love. It's definitely uncomfortable. There's another reason why light workers shut down from accepting, and this was my reason, because my love came with complication. If I let the love in from my parent, they started taking advantage of that connection and manipulating me. And I saw very early that love comes with strings. So I was like, no. But a lot of times I think people can't accept love because it's simply not safe. And it's not safe because there's no boundaries or rules established. So you saying fuck off is actually, to me, putting a boundary up. That boundary is necessary because you need a little bit of privacy.
That's what I'm
saying. A
saying.
little bit of safety to take that love to heart and be like, that was such a nice compliment.
But that's what I'm saying. That's step zero, right? That's really step zero, because if you're in a stage where you have to, and I agree with you, when you're at a stage that you have to push the boundaries out and be like, fuck off, because you're at that level, it's like you have to do something that's going to bring that force for you. And so that's the fuck off approach. That's the beginning. That's step zero. And then when you evolve from that, like I said before, you do build that better finesse of like, I do deserve better, but it has nothing to do about them. It's about my choices. Then you have better finesse on how to deal with that, But I also feel too, like, for me, like you were saying about your experiences, like I was abused by arrogant people. And so I always say, I don't want to be arrogant like that. Like, I just want to do what I love. And like, I don't want arrogance behind it. I want it to come from my heart. And so that also, the fear of being arrogant, like the past too, is also allowed me just like, oh, I don't need the compliments. It's like, well, no, I need nurturing from other people, And
I think in the ancient days, there was like a blend of ego and self-love. Because when you say to someone, oh, he must love himself. Oh my God. Actually, you're talking about an arrogant ego there, and we've classified it as loving themselves, and that's not true. If you're being an asshole, you're not loving yourself.
No, you're not.
You're actually, the way we treat the world is the way we treat ourselves on the inside secretly. 100%. So,
Always.
when you, for instance, get, right now you said you're triggered today, little things are triggering you, people want more attention. I said, that's a self-love issue. Your inner child is pissed because why is the dog getting it, Dad? Why don't I get the attention? The inner child is like, I'm starving here, and you're worried about clients again. We're going on camera again. The inner child is whining in the back seat, which is your inner child. what it wants, I think self-love is your attention. I mean, if you want to get the very basis of it, they say in light work, what you put your attention on is where your energy goes. And
Yeah.
that's your real control of energy, what you put your attention on. And you can be thinking about something, but having your attention on someone you're in love with, or you can be thinking about something else at school and you'll have your attention on what you'll do afterwards. So we can actually focus our mind on one thing and our attention on the other. And we often feel as humans that our mind is the attention. No, the mind is just like farts of electromagnetic energy coming off your head. But I feel like paying attention to your heart. So, I think the first thing is you need step 0, privacy and safety.
Right.
And then secondly, to self-love, it's just listening to your heart through the whole day.
Right.
Like today, after we got, okay, after this, you get a phone call. You're talking on the phone. Monitor your heart. Is your heart happy? You're having a good time? Is your heart pissed? Is your heart anxious? Is your heart anxious to get off the phone because it wants its attention and it's tired of, so to me, the very basis of self-love is attention. But the other part I learned when you talk about self-love and accepting it, I had a girlfriend who was a Leo, an ex-wife. She's a past life wife, frankly, who came back, and I knew I recognized her instantly. We had a great little reenactment of that lifetime, and then it was like, okay, we've learned here, but we're still friends. She knows me so well, right? Ex-wives are great in that. Ex-partners are great in that from past lives because they can coach you in this one. And she said to me, I never really felt that you took in the love I gave you, and I was like, huh, that just, wow, like wow, you don't. I'm not, she's like, yeah, and it makes you feel rejected and it makes you feel like you have to compete for it. I was like, huh. And I did some real retro analysis there and I realized, oh yeah, because my parents' love was dangerous. So the only way as a kid, I couldn't tell them no, I couldn't put up a boundary, but I could close my mouth and not eat. And that's what I've been doing. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm using the same technique on myself at times. Like if I'm upset with myself because I was late to something, I will be like, give myself no credit for anything. I'll punish myself.
Exactly.
And take away the self-love and be mean to myself and be like, no, we're not getting anything good. You're not even thinking about having fun until work is back on track. Like there's that sort of attitude. And I think that's also me using self-love as a weapon, a starvation tool to myself, knowingly doing that, knowingly making myself go without. I think I learned that in past lives with like being a soldier, where you're just like, you have no choice. You got to keep fucking marching or we're dead. So in past lives, I'm just pushing myself way beyond the limits. But long story short, I feel like accepting love is really important. At that point, I realized I've got to actually sit there and go, I love it. And take it in and actually absorb it because I wasn't even absorbing my own compliments to myself. I'd be like, wow, that was a good job. And another part of me would be like, yeah, well, could have been better.
Yeah, it's always the yeah buts. Yeah, I did that, but this. It's always that kind of. It's always a competition, right? I think that's a part of human nature, right? That competitive nature of competing with others. That we compete with ourselves. I did that, but I should have been doing it a little better. It's like, okay, well, you can get there later on. So, and I always have to tell myself that too. The overly critical. Oh, you did this, but you didn't sound this way enough. And I always say there's a fine line of being critical to where you're growing versus just condemning yourself, and so and those are things too based on our patterns where we have the subconscious programming, from those we've inherited those patterns from, and especially with my religious trauma that I've been through, the condemnation, right? And so that's been so carries on with my trauma, and I look at that differently, and so now I'm like, it's okay to grow and critique, but I don't have to condemn, and self.
There's all of that, and so that was taught to us. I mean, look, I consider myself to be good friends with Yeshua. I consider myself now becoming friends with Mary Magdalene, thanks to Krista. I'm getting to know his wife, and energetically, I'll tell you that church is nothing what Jesus taught. Like the church and the reorganization, the relegioning of Rome, they create a religion. And Constantine writes about it and brags about it. It's designed to control the people. It's designed to keep them afraid. They kept out all the gospels that would suggest that you have magic, only kept in the hellfire damnation ones, produced this book called the Bible, and then killed people if you didn't follow it. Like, fuck. That's like NBC, like, you're going to love the comedy or you're dead. You know what I mean? Like, to control us. And in that moment, my point is like, lifetime after lifetime, we're subjected to this, we're subject to this, to where it's subconscious to play this game of, you don't deserve your love. You were born a sinner, and you're going to try to earn your way back into heaven. Wait a second. I thought the whole gig was to come down here on earth. Why the fuck would I want to go back to heaven? I just incarnated. Why would I want to go back? Don't I get to go back to this whole mind game? So I think in a lot of cases, and I'm being passionate today, when people don't accept self-love, they're actually still afraid of pissing off a past life church.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the whole thing is too to keep people suppressed, obviously, because you don't have the power. You just have to submit, self-condemnation, look up, have a God, worship a God. And so, I mean, that's obviously created by a man's ego. That is not a God creation. That's a man's ego creation. So it's 100%. But I said before, it's just their way of creating order, right? So people who are living in chaos, they have like this,
You mean
this
they cared, Scott? They cared that some woman's afraid in the woods that she's not going to eat tonight, so they want to bring order to her life. I don't believe there's any caring at all.
Well, I'm saying no, of course not, but it's like that's the control, right? Of the people who try to control things. That's their way of implementing that into human consciousness.
Yes.
And so people feel enslaved and less than. They don't have the power. It's the God's power, not your power. And so 100%. But again, these things are also depriving of self-love. These like kind of very organized religions, and I would say even a lot of the spiritual, new age spiritual things are very self-condemning. You're not thinking properly. You're not affirming enough, and I'm very vocal about that on my channel too, about, it keeps people stuck that they're stuck. I'm not saying the right words. I'm not desiring the right way.
The only right is based on you.
Right.
That's the whole thing. If you're saying the church is, I want to appease the church, I want to appease God, even if you evolve out of the church, like church is corrupt. God, do you love me? It's like, first of all, I think God wants you to love you because you're his child.
Right.
Like if my son doesn't love himself and I'm God, I'm hurt he's not loving himself. I'm like, you little bastard, you're going to my hell because you've already spent your life troubling.
But haven't you noticed with that though, Christopher, haven't you noticed now that's kind of turned into like now people feel whether or not the universe is condemning them. They're saying the right things to the universe, that they're putting out the right energy to the universe to get what they want, just like the religion. I feel like it's morphed into a lot of these new age ideologies as of late too.
The new age stuff to me, first of all, I'm not upset with them. I think it's a stage. They're still stuck. What they're doing is swapping out, Catholic God for universe. Like they haven't realized that at the very core of that, of you feeling accepted by the universe, what you're saying is that your value is based on the universe, not you. That's a fundamental. Who's driving the goddamn ship? Am I creating, or is the universe creating? Which is it?
Right, but you see the parallel, how it's like merged, how it's morphed from religion into New Age. That was the point I'm making. It's kind of like there's a parallel.
I don't know. We're not organized at all, buddy. You and I can't even organize this show. I think the New Agers now are not that organized.
But not us.
I think still not taking their power.
No, not us. I'm talking about the New Age faux spiritual communities, the ones that are very sensationalized. Is what I'm talking about. That many people getting lost into. They're saying that I'm not being positive enough, or like we talked before about toxic positivity. I'm not doing this right enough. It's that self condemnation that's kind of morphed from religion now into it's bleeding into the New Age communities. Is the point I'm trying to make. You know what I'm saying?
I think so, but I wouldn't say. You know what I really feel? I mean, I feel first of all, you probably were that shallow in a past life, and when you see that energy, you're hating yourself in that life, going, "Oh God, I was so dumb at that time." I think we're all dumb at some point. I feel we just have to accept it. I don't really feel that. I mean, no. I mean, my response is right now. Anytime something gets popular that wasn't before, you have the whole spectrum of people who know down to the idiot. And the idiot is claiming to know what the person at the top is claiming. And there's always those levels of awareness of what it really is. So when light work happens, you've got the idiot that's inexperienced, acting like they know everything. And you have the masters like, why are you doing that, idiot? We're not calling people idiots. So for me, this idea that, like light work can go down the wrong path, yes, it will. There's always that level that's going to look at it so shallow because that's where they are.
Well, of course, but we have to be aware because, like I said, part of self-love is
that awareness. Yourself, their opinion doesn't matter. That's the whole point of this episode. It's like at the end of the day, I love myself. You guys have fun. I love myself. You guys play in the mud. I love myself. You guys worry about the president. Like in all these moments in life where you are trying to get the world to be like you want. That is where you are abandoning yourself with self-love.
Well, that's the whole level of narcissism too. If you're trying to get everyone to fit your mold, that's a little bit narcissistic. That's ego-driven. That's not heart-based. Heart-based is like it all is okay. You're an acceptance of I accept that, accept this, and I'm just in my own evolution. No,
but if you're mad at the president or you're mad at light workers who don't get it, I'm not saying you are, but if it triggers you, at the core. You want something in the world to be like you, and that means you're giving your power in that moment, not your self-love in that moment. Self-love is like, those are silly. It's like, to me, I look like it's in a zoo. I see myself. When I see people being idiots, I'm like, I remember that lifetime.
Right.
I remember I thought that way.
Right.
These are stages of human development. But
exactly.
Self-love to me comes down to what we're talking about right here. It's like when your heart is yearning, are you looking outside yourself for satisfaction, or inside yourself for satisfaction? Because to me, that's the line of self-love right there. That's the boundary.
100%.
And self-love is quite often something you need, not what you would ask for. So I found that
Well, I mean,
I
yes,
need vitamins, and my
choice,
self-love is taking my vitamins because I'm a person just
choice.
so excited about my job. I'm just going to run to work and not to take my vitamins.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a
loving
choice.
myself is give myself the things I need sometimes.
It's a choice, but people think they're waiting for self-love to come out of the sky. It's like, no, you're choosing it. You're choosing to be empowered, or you're choosing not to be empowered, or at least you're choosing to be conscious of it or not, to understand in what ways you're not applying, self-love in different areas. And I like to tell people, they think like, well, what does self-love mean? And I would say, what are you putting love into? And then that's like formats a question with thinking, yeah, what am I putting love into? I'm putting love into gossip. I'm putting love into, people who are taking money from me or taking energy from me. It's like, yeah, so maybe start going to need to put more love into boundaries, put more love into things in your life that will build you up, because that's just a choice if you want to be powered or not. It's a choice, And so I think that, and I've always say, I tell you this all the time, that I feel like, everything's become so bumper stickery and, so cliche that it's lost its power. We hear self-love all the time and we preach all the time. People don't really understand what it means. They just, oh yeah, that self-love crap. And so I think like changing the point of view and how we tackle that is like, for me, I would say, what are you putting love into? And ask yourself, if you're not putting love into certain aspects of self, how do you expect it to grow?
I agree.
Right?
I feel like, again, we're looking at different grades of high school here. The people who are doing anything, the people who are trying to be loved by the world on social media, trying to be loved. They're trying to earn love or conquer love
Right.
or trap love a lot of times. All those people who are mining their world for love don't get it. You're literally looking at the spoiled food out there. The core ingredient of self-love is that you go ahead and love yourself. No apologies to the world. You tell yourself what you wish that girl would have said. You tell yourself what you wish they would have said in the comments. You tell yourself this. You don't need at all. You have no appetite to play that rat race if you are coming to the table feeling like you were the greatest shit since sliced bread. Now, here's the thing. People have this wrong idea that it's the same thing as a narcissist. A narcissist must love himself so much. No. Anyone who's become that big of a dark asshole is starved for self-love, and they're now stealing it, trapping it, all these different things. On the inside, you will not, let me just tell you, folks, you will not become arrogant or mean when you love yourself truly. You will not. It's impossible. The heart you cannot be in your heart and shoot someone. You cannot. It's like wired.
You can't do it. When I tell people, we use self-centered as a way of like describing someone's self. It's like, no, when you're truly centered with yourself, you understand the heart's expression and it wants to share. It wants to share. It doesn't
That's what
want
happens.
to hold it, and it doesn't want to be fear. It's in complete power. It's like your natural essence is to share it and to want to express it with people.
Totally true. Like the baby who you're like, here, have some food, and the baby's like, here, you have too. The baby shares right away. You can see that's our heart's. You're right. That's the thing. If you really love yourself, you're gonna be like have too much of it. It's like kind of like uncomfortable to have too much self-love. At least for me, I want to give it away almost instantly. I can't take just sitting in that feeling of me being the next thing since sliced bread.
It's like when the filters of love turn on, you start seeing everything else like that too. You want it for people. You want people to feel the same thing. And I always think too, like sometimes we go too far with self-love that we think that we can't critique ourselves. It's good to acknowledge the things about yourself that you want to change. Like I said before, is a fine line, but it's okay to say, you know what, I want to be more of this. And that's self-love too. If we can be objective enough to, critique a little bit and say, I can be better at this, but not pressure yourself about it. I think some people think that they shouldn't call out things that they need to be changed. And there's a fine line between that too, I think. And so, and then you can understand that I'm changing these things because I'm coming from the heart. My heart deserves more. And yes, and that also extends to other people. I would say by nature, it's out being our nature to express that and share that with other people.
One thing about the heart is it's so honest. When people are struggling with weight, I hear their mind going, I should just accept myself for who I am. I should just, I shouldn't judge and all this stuff. And you're right. There can be no self-judgment in self-love. But if I ask your inner child, sweetie, do you rather be big or lean? Which would you rather have? You ask the heart, like, honey, what would you like? You want to be on the tire swing big, or do you want to be on the tire swing thin?
Don't want to breathe.
Your heart actually wants to be, I think, the heart wants to be thin. But and it really does. It's what it wants. But it unpacks so much pain. And so people avoid it. It's like, no, that's what your heart really wants. You don't have to prove to anyone whatever. In fact, the reason why I think a lot of people gain weight is because they've lacked self-love and they have been trying to replace it with outer stuff, namely things that are processed foods. And I'm not judging. I just lost 60 pounds, and for me, I love myself more at a certain weight. I hate not being able to see my toes, like I hate that. Like I don't love myself there. It's hard, but I think the response is, I want this is what you said. My response is, okay, sweetheart, you can have that. And what else do you want? So
Exactly.
my tipping, my trick and my coaching trick is it's not just you love yourself. It's that you love yourself and you love yourself some more. If you have a deficit of self-love, you need one dose of love just to repair the hole and another dose of love that moment to take it up a notch. And I think we're going to be in that stage of love myself and love myself some more for the rest of our life to ascend.
Yeah. Well, of course. But again, the key to that too is accepting where you were too. Some people are just so judgmental of that. It's like, it's okay, let's move. It's an evolution. It's like I tell people, because when you're a kid and you didn't know how to ride the bike and you fell off the bike, you look back saying how stupid you were because you fell off the bike. It's like, no, you were learning it. And so if you're learning self-love, you're going to fall off. It's okay. If you're learning life or you have whatever your karma is, if it is with weight, if it is with addiction, whatever the case is, you fell off the bike. It's okay. You can pick yourself back up and continue on. I think we need to start looking and nurturing ourselves that way, because that nurturing is self-love too. It's saying it's okay, pick yourself up. So many people, I think in this world, because of social media, like you said, and this need for attention, we just condemn ourselves too much instead of saying, yeah, I'm right where I'm at. And
we're using the methods that were used to control us on ourselves.
Right. And compare.
We are being the voice of the Catholic Church. We are being the voice of the military sergeant. We are being the voice of the ex-wife criticizing you. Inside ourselves, we're playing the role for them. We're playing our parents' role on their behalf when they're gone, and we're turning part of our creativity against part of our creativity. Now, that right there says you could be, instead of critical, loving. And when I went through this, I kind of felt my way through this transit, Saturn the 5th, and learned the whole self-love thing. And when I started loving myself, I was so pissed. I was so angry that I was loving myself, because I made myself take myself on a play date, and I'd be driving to the play date, which is at the beach to rollerblade. I am so fucking angry driving to the beach. This is a waste of time. What the fuck? I was so mad. And I was like, whoa, my inner child is so angry. And I realized he's angry because, now you care. Now, like it was turning into a bitter teenager. So my point is, like, there's like resistance from yourself because you're resenting yourself, because this whole time you've been obsessed with so-and-so and not me. And so once you start actually doing it, I just want to say pus comes up. Your own pus with yourself. But for me, it's like, I really get, like, I baby talk. I look ridiculous, I'm sure, if you hear how I talk to my inner child, but I baby talk him, and I'm like, sweetheart, and I just love him. Like, I'm sorry, honey, I know what you want. I know, baby. And I'm sorry, I'm just now getting this at 51. It took a long time. But your heart is so confident when it knows it has what it's always wanted. My intention.
But what you said right there, that's nurturing. And that's the nurturing.
You're speaking to the emotions that surround it, and I agree. The emotions that surround it, blankets and covers and popsicles
but that, and just even the intellect, because you were nurturing yourself. Like, no, it's okay. We got to go through this. It's okay. You've been deprived. We're feeding it now. Like you're nurturing and talking yourself through the process. That's self-love.
That's a part of self-love. Focused on emotional and comfort and safety and direction. If you don't have like a nice emotional approach to nurturing yourself, your heart doesn't want to come out. It's dangerous. So part of self-love, you have to work through the emotion stuff and soothe yourself. And then once you're soothed, you go, okay, honey, now that you're not feeling like shit.
Well, right. But Christopher, this is why the inner child has been used in every reference in psychology and spiritual, because when you're nurturing a child, when you think of nurturing a child, they're not going to get it right away. It takes that nurturing process to change emotion, to redirect. And so we have to still see ourselves in that way of nurturing redirection. That's why they use that as an analogy all the time. Because how we treat children is we don't force them. We don't push it. We don't pressure them, right? Because we know they will know better. We have to keep that essence with ourselves. And that's what you were doing, is that you were nurturing. You're taking its time to redirect and allowing the time to wake up, right? And so, and I think that's what people miss with self-love, is that process, that
inner parent, which is what Capricorn really is your inner parent. And I'm a brilliant parent. I mean, I love people so well. People love to be around me the way I love them when I love them. So I had all the wisdom of how to love a person on an amazing level. And I just realized, oh my God, this great guy that I give to everyone, even a stranger in public, I just need to give this guy to me.
Yeah.
I realized I had the tools. I knew how to love. I wasn't an idiot.
Sure.
I was maybe a love addict. I mean, I came from parents who used love as control. And
Right.
so I got caught in the game of trying to earn love. That was my thing, trying to earn your love. So you'll love me one day. Let me show you.
Right.
And what I realized was like, if I just wake up loving me one day and not caring, like now love from someone else is a bonus. People come to me and
Mhm.
like, I know you hear this all the time. Oh my God, I love you. I love your work. Now, when that first happened, when people would come to me and want to give love, at first I would actually try to act like I was noble and kind, and I'm not going to take it to my ego and all these games, not accepting their love at all. But now as it's evolved and I love myself, I'm like, oh, thanks, I agree. Oh, thanks, I agree. You know what I mean? Like, I don't say literally I agree, but I take in the love but it's because I've already loved myself. This exchange is not completing me. It's just a bonus. It's extra. It's a reflection of the fact that I do already.
Yeah, and I think enjoying the validation. It's just good. It's just, and I think that my part is like, oh, if I accept it, I'm too arrogant, right? And so,
That was my thing too. That's the game. And it's like, no, I
yeah.
accept it. If you don't accept it, it hurts their feelings. That's
Well,
what my girlfriend told me. She's like,
here's
it
what I learned.
hurts.
But here's what I learned too is that even though don't want to accept it because I don't want to be too arrogant, I'm being arrogant by not accepting it.
That's the
It's like, oh
irony.
no, it's too good for a
I know.
compliment. We
That is the
become
irony.
arrogant. Isn't that the irony? So the paradox, I would say, it's very paradoxical that way. And so I realized, and I learned that through my dad, because my dad just couldn't accept the compliment. He can give to everybody else. Oh, I don't need gifts. I don't need anything. I'm like, don't be so arrogant. You need gifts. You need love too. And
Oh, he
so
totally does. He told me a really deep story about his father that
yeah,
really revealed all of it. His
yeah,
father never loved him or accepted him at all.
mm-mm,
And so he's trying to earn it,
yep,
subconsciously. You don't even know you're doing it. Yeah, I agree. I had a point there and I lost it because you got some really good points. Oh, I know what it is. I think the late stages of ego, I'm talking about, the early stages of ego would be like drag woman into cave. That was like basic ego. But these late stages are these really complex ego games where it's like, I'm not being arrogant. I'm going to be cool. And that means I'll be arrogant to myself, not
right,
you. And so I find
right,
what happened is in a lot of evolved, light workers progress, it's like, oh, sure, you're not beating up your neighbors, but you're beating up yourself. Who the fuck you think you're kidding? You're still the same asshole you were back in when you're dragging women into caves. Only now you're
right,
dragging yourself. You know what I
right,
mean? So I think
right,
part of our ego evolution is that it moves from, fighting in the outer world to punishing and bullying the inner world. And to love
right.
yourself, you've got to find a new place for that ego. And what I say to my ego is like, strap on a goddamn skirt, get yourself in an apron, and cook me breakfast. So now I'm telling my ego, you want to do something? Take care of us. Take
Right.
care of us. That you got plenty to do there.
Right. And the thing is too, like when you hold back because then you start being arrogant yourself, people don't realize you're depriving people of what you have to bring to the table in this universe. Because we're here to express, and if you have talents and skill sets and things that you need to express to add to this world, by holding it back is actually depriving of the universe too. So you're still being selfish, in a negative sense. We have to express our talents. We have to express, the things that and we have to know that power to be able to express it too, so we can contribute to the world and to our society as well and our relationships.
Yeah,
So
I
even
think the
sometimes
expression is that's shutting down the self-love. If your heart wants to
right,
put it at age 5-year-old, the 5-year-old wants to color. I want to color a picture. That's expressing the self. And
yeah,
and for the child to go, no, but I won't. Why would you hold back something your heart wants to do?
exactly,
Expression to me is even about the audience. Honestly, I can say this humbly and true. I didn't care. When I came on and started doing horoscopes, I was having such a fucking blast. I
right,
didn't care if anyone saw it. To me, it was like one of my games in childhood where I'd make like music videos and all sorts of stuff. Nobody saw it. I didn't show it around. I had such a fun time making the music video of myself.
right,
And
right,
if you're in joy, you are expressing yourself in the most pure form. And
yeah,
if you're not enjoying it, it's not your purity. If you're not enjoying
right,
it, why the hell should I? A lot of people who can't make it on camera or whatever, they're clearly not enjoying it. And so I'm not enjoying it
right.
because I'm a soul. I'm like, "Ugh, I know how you feel right now. You're
That's
looking at
right.
this as work. So we do have a couple of people to promote. Adam, I want to go back to Crystals by Crystal so we get the commercial correct. And we have another one to play, and then we'll be back and pitch ourselves right after this, folks, if you can.
Yes.
I created Crystal by Crystal because I struggled to hear my inner guidance. Sitting still was never easy for me, but lighting a candle changed everything. Now I combine the energy of fire, crystals, and Reiki to create candles that are more than decor. They are sacred tools for self-care and empowerment. These candles have transformed both my life and my customers' lives, and to deepen your journey, I offer private Reiki sessions. Save with code JOY20 at crystalbycrystal.com. Your transformation starts here.
stuff off. It has nothing to do with us. Yeah, Crystals by Crystals, y'all. Check it out. Great Christmas gift. If you want to give your mom a candle that won't give her cancer, Crystal by Crystal. I just can't say it enough. I mean, I'm sorry. Everything is just so full of chemicals.
I know
I
petroleum.
don't trust anything anymore. I don't trust anything. It's so hard. So to know someone, meet them, you like the light, for them to tell you their process, how they manufacture. Guys, we have to keep it word of mouth like this, or we're not going to survive. We have to support the light workers who are doing the light work, and they're doing the real work. And we have to turn our backs financially on fucking Johnson and Johnson.
It's true. I mean, it's true. I mean,
I'm so sick of it. Yeah,
they're known to having products that created a whole, fiasco with cancer. People who didn't cancer, they're known for this. So why are we so
in baby powder? It's in baby powder. You stupid idiots! Like they're not idiots. I think there's something dark there. I think there's a dark people behind that shit. I really do. I also want to point out too, we're having our White Light Friday sale. It's the last day tomorrow, folks, to purchase Serious Joy. You'll get the first 2 months for just $3.99 a month. Okay, I will share. I'm an owner of the company. We lose money with that. We lose. That's an investment. We write off like, okay, we're gonna lose money on this one. So we're not getting anything out of asking you to try. And really, we've got some great things. Most lately, Krista Marie, who is channeling Mary Magdalene, the soulmate of Christ. I mean, just sign up to see if it's real. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty interesting, this evolution happening. And soon, we have some more great talent coming. But come try it out. This is your last 2 days. SeriousJoy.com. And it is White Light Friday. White Light Friday is the code that gets you this special deal. Thank you for that. And, this is just our day job, but you have a night job, and it's tonight. Where can people find you? What is your channel, and what is your show about tonight, Scott?
Scott Cruz, PM, but just Scott Cruz. And tonight's, what is my topic today? Healing the past. So I figured during Christmas season, it's always time to go back into your past and kind of like re-nurture the past version. So kind of what we're saying. So we'll get into that. Live readings tonight too. So if you want a live reading tonight too, or if you want a personal reading, scottcruzpm.com. And I will vouch CT Organics. And maybe we can roll that in closing too. We're supposed to talk about CT Organics. More clean products. If we can put a banner up there. Wonderful products, face moisturizer, cleanser. So, and I know Sanandra puts all her energy and heart into her products, and they just, you look and feel amazing on them. And knowing that she's also prays over her stuff, but uses the best quality ingredients that are safe and amazing, I would just say. So
you could eat her products and you'd be fine.
It's 11/11 now too.
CT is one of our soul partners at Serious Joy TV. I can't get into it now, but you're right. She literally, her and her staff, there's pictures. They literally pray over the products as it goes out the door. They literally pray over the products. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's like your grandmother praying over the food she serves you on Sunday. Like, it doesn't exist. And I have some jokes with her. It's like, what are you going to do? Start hiring people to pray? Like, like once you really blow up, it's like a whole factory of, like a conveyor belt going by. Like,
Hollywood does it, so we can do it. Yeah.
Do it. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's legit. And I think we need to support these companies. Okay. So
scan this
CT products, we'll run the commercial
code
too. Yeah. But it's the cream. I'll just say right now, start with the cream. Amazing. You don't feel like any Betty Crocker, addictive stuff's going in, whenever I do any sort of like commercial cream, I'm like, they're trying to addict you to the product usually. So they'll actually they'll put something in there that makes it dry. So you need more of it.
Right.
Dark spell stuff.
It's light and it's like, it just glows. And there's a facial serum that I use too as well. It just like brings on a glow. So, and I like to use like products that are light. I don't like to put too much. This stuff is always very perfect for me. I just love it. She has gift
packages too. She calls the goddess package. So give mom a goddess package and let her see for herself. All glass jars, no plastic. Can we run a commercial, Adam?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Scott Cruz, Psychic Media. I'm here to introduce you to Chi Hair and Skincare, which only uses raw and organic ingredients. Shall we take a look? One of the products I use primarily is the peppermint shampoo. Although I'm bald and shaved head, I love something that really nourishes my scalp. It really gives me that nice sensation of feeling clean after the shower. Whether you have hair or no hair, it's really great for the scalp. Another go-to for me is the Chi cream. It's extremely light. It smells wonderful too, by the way. This is very thin on the skin, has a nice, very mild fragrance too, so it's not overbearing. It makes you feel nourished and moisturized. This is one of my go-to favorites. You could use it on the skin, you could use it on the face. One of the new products I discovered was the Chi Facial Serum. It just requires a couple drops and also kind of takes away a lot of the dryness. It gives you that very fresh, rejuvenated look and feel. It's good to look a certain way, you want to feel a certain way. So let's take a look at the color of this too. Look at that orange glow, right? It's pure gold. Very light, very clean, very refreshing. I think this is the way to go, especially here in Palm Springs.
Oh, wow. Oh, Lord, everything's wrong.
It's all
Oh, that was
black.
bad. Well, we're just butchering our sponsors today. All right, thank you. Well,
And
that's okay.
look,
We're
I just
going.
want to say, I don't get paid for that. That's because I believe in the products. I believe in what she does, and so that is not me being paid. I'm not endorsing because I'm sponsored. I just enjoy the product so much. I'm like, sure, I love to help, like you said, to bring light on natural products.
Well, we are doing trades with her to promote her. Somebody upfront about that, like Serious Joy is. But I honestly, I will never promote something I don't believe in. I will never put my
Likewise.
name. I will never put my name to something I don't believe in. I'll keep my effing mouth shut and pretend like I don't know. Don't ask me. But I just feel like I think it's a gift from my heart to be behind the product, and because it's so well deserved, and it comes from me
Yeah.
aiming so high in what I do. When I see other
Yeah.
people trying as hard as I do, and they haven't been discovered yet. I'm like, oh my God, the world's got to see this. And that's
Right.
Sichi as well. That's also Crystal
Yeah.
by Crystal, just for the record. So folks, we'll never bring you products here that we don't believe in and that we don't believe are authentic and good. So
Or don't use, because I use them. So
me too. Actually, Sichi this morning. I'll Sichi tonight. That said, I think it's time. We're a little over time, my good friend. People can catch you on your channel tonight. Catch me tomorrow night. I'm going to have, of course, Namaste Today Live. And my guest this week, Josh Siegel. Him and I are going to tag team Love Problems on our love episode. Him numerology, me step astrology. Tune in for
Nice.
that tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. No, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. All right, friends. Well, that's all we have this week. We'll be back next week. Will we be next week? I mean, hold on. With Christmas?
yeah, that's the day
Yeah,
after
we will.
Christmas, 26th. Yeah.
Yes, let's share what we got for Christmas next week. We'll see you guys
Right.
on the air. Until then, Scott and I love you. Live, love, be.
Bye, beautiful souls.
Oh my God.
Did you get your white elephant gift yet?
I did actually, and I spent $2,500 on it.
You did not. 2400.
I'm gonna make a shitload of money. Yes, I know exactly what it is. I bought something that I wanted. So my whole game is in the white elephant game to get my own present back to me. That's my
Let's see if
strategy.
it cycles back that way. I don't know.
I played this game before. It's fun. Scott and I are
I love
talking
it.
about what's that?
I said I love it. That's why we decided to do it, because it's fun. And then
is
you don't have to
fun.
like buy gifts for everybody.